You're listening to international investment advisor Doug Goldstein on the Goldstein on Gelt show, the financial show where we'll talk about how you can make the most of your money. With all the confusing financial chatter bombarding you each and every day, Goldstein on Gelt will give you the practical information you want and need about living a financially stable life. Here's your host, money maven Doug Goldstein.
Okay, we are back. We are talking to Rabbi Dr. Yitzhak Lifshitz, who is a senior fellow at the Shalem Center in Jerusalem in the Department of Philosophy and Political Theory and Religion. And he's the author of the new book called Judaism, Law, and the Free Market, about how Judaism views free markets. Rabbi Yitzhak, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Before we get into a little more depth about the book itself, what got you going on writing on this topic?
It's a very good question. This is not something I planned to do. It all started with an article I wrote to Azure several years ago. I think it's like almost 10 years ago. No, 8 years ago, actually, on the view of Judaism on private property. And this article gave me some fame that I really didn't expect in America. And on the other hand, in Israel, it made me the bad guy, because the way it was presented is it's the rabbi who makes Judaism to be equal to capitalism. So in Israel, capitalism always goes together with being some sort of a pig or any other beautiful animal.
That's a real problem for us on this show, because this is a show about capitalism. But okay,
yeah,
that's their opinion.
Anyway, but many Americans liked the article, and then I got some more invitations to come to America to publish papers. I published a paper in Society magazine. I was invited to Boston University. Then I tried to publish another paper in Israel about welfare, and at Tel Aviv University, a publication of Jewish law, and they refused even to send it to readers because it presented a right-wing point of view. So at the end, this paper was published, but even in Israel, in Akdamot. But I published more papers in America, and I published another paper on similar views of Friedrich Hayek and Judaism. And this was published at Acton University. And Acton, after publishing it, asked me to publish a book, and paid me to write a book, and this is that's how this book came about.
Okay, so let's focus then on some of the topics in the book.
I should really give one thanks. I mean, the people that told me about Acton and recommended me to publish at Acton, and then were involved with the book, were JIMS, Robert Sauer and Corinne Sauer from JIMS, and they were very active. So I'm very, very grateful to them.
So let's talk a little bit about how Jews have historically really been all over the economic map. They're blamed for everything from communism to being ultra-libertarian. They always seem to find some connection from their opinion to some Jewish source. Where does Judaism really hold in terms of what type of economic system is most appropriate?
Well, of course, I can only speak. I can only talk from my point of view. My point of view is that even legally, I want to say two things. Number one, the idea of private property. Anyone who learns Gemara from an early age and learns the tractates of Seder Nezikin, Bava Kama, Bava Metzia, Bava Basra, is aware of how sanctified the laws of private property are. There is even there is a myth and some roots to it that if a person steals even 1 cent, he'll come back to the world to pay it back. The sanctity of ownership, of respecting someone else's property, is enormous. And we know that in order to be a Talmid Chacham, one has to be to learn very, very well the laws of all the legal laws. We are jurists as Jews, and because we are jurists, we pay very, very strong attention to details of contracts, of respecting property, and understanding that someone's property is not just a whim. It's not only that it's good for the country, but it has its own value.
Okay, so we're talking about a fundamental value in the Jewish Code of Law is that people should be able to have private property and to hold it, and then other people can't violate that. We're talking to Rabbi Dr. Yitzhak Lifshitz, who recently came out with a book called Judaism, Law, and the Free Market, about how Judaism, in fact, views the world of the economy. On the website related to the book, there's a sentence that says that there's data now that shows that American Jews earn per capita about twice as much as non-Jews. And yet somewhere between a third and half of them identify themselves not as supporters of the free market. Is that a Jewish concept or some sort of political, social concept?
Well, I claim that the ideas of free market are new. They're new since Adam Smith and Medeville. And they are new because they were generated after the idea of the modern state. To look at the market as a thing by itself that can be developed, that should be developed, is not such a clear thing and wasn't so obvious in antiquity. Not to rabbis and not to Jews and not to Gentiles.
So you're differentiating between private property and free market? Yes.
Free market is an idea of how can we create progress in the market. People had intuition about it, but a serious study of how do we augment, or how do we create a better market, this was not very clear. It wasn't studied well. And Jews were invited in Europe. First in Germany, we have much more information about it, about Poland. The Polish kings in the 13th century invited Jews to come in. Mm-hmm. And they were invited because the Polish kings knew that Jews are good for business. So people had an idea that if you have capital, that can help and enhance economy. But how exactly it works, besides the fact that capital helps a market, this wasn't very clear. The idea that freedom, that spontaneity in the market is good for the market was a very wild idea. So we have one source about it in the Talmud where it says, Kin'at sofrim tarbe chokhmah, that jealousy enhances the study of Torah, and therefore you should enable Jews to have free market in Torah studies. So we see that there is such an idea, but it did not go over. I mean, the rabbis did not apply that in the market as a whole. Mm-hmm. So this is very modern. I'm not surprised to see that it takes many people time to get adjusted to it.
Okay. We are speaking to Rabbi Dr. Yitzhak Lifshitz, who recently came out with a book titled Judaism, Law, and the Free Market. You've been speaking to us about the economic side of free market and private property. There also would seem to be a concept in Judaism that having wealth undermines a person's spiritual well-being. Is that a Jewish concept, or is that something that perhaps we just, in the more modern world, say, oh, he's filthy rich, meaning that there's something bad about that?
Well, in my article, I claim that wealth contradicts spiritual life, or accumulation of wealth is considered as a sin. This was true in ancient Christianity. Ambrose, the teacher of Augustine, claimed that it's a worse sin to accumulate wealth than of the poor to steal money from the rich.
Guess he wouldn't have done well on Wall Street. That would have been a big problem for him.
Right. We can't find anything similar to that in Judaism. There is a praise for poverty in the Gemara. The Gemara says that poverty is nice for the Jews. It's nice for a Jew to be not to be wealthy. And I can speak about my family. One of our ancestors, Rabbi Yitzhak, who is also one of the great-great-grandfather of Rav Soloveitchik, blessed his offsprings for not being wealthy.
Now, did that go down many generations until you?
I don't know until when, but I'm included.
Until the book becomes a bestseller, and then that will all change.
Of course, being wealthy is not a contradiction of being a God-fearing person, but it creates a challenge, or it could create a challenge. But it's not a problem. It's not a sin by itself, of course. And on the other hand, the rabbis say that a prophet has to be wealthy. Kohen has to be a priest has to be wealthy. It's being wealthy can be a very good thing, and it's an opportunity to give charity.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Listen, we are just about out of time. We have been talking to Rabbi Dr. Yitzhak Lifshitz, a senior fellow at the Shalem Center and also the author of the book Judaism, Law, and the Free Market. Rabbi Yitzhak, in the last couple of seconds, can you just tell us how can people follow your work or find the book?
Two ways. There's one way to find it is in Amazon sells the Kindle edition, and the other one is in Acton Institute. If you can Google my name, Joseph Lifshitz, without the Isaac, you'll get to it.
Okay, and of course we will put a posting up on the radio show Goldstein on Gelt.com. Rabbi Yitzhak Lifshitz, thanks very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world, but if you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt show.